of South Africa. Mining will not experience a huge negative growth rate this year because many of the coal mines were operational during the lockdown period. We are, however, very concerned about some of the industries, such as the tourism industry, which is an important economic contributor and job driver in the province. We are working closely with this industry on a tourism recovery plan. We will also work closely with all sectors to develop and implement a provincial economic recovery and growth plan. Firstly, to mitigate the negative impact of COVID-19, and secondly, to identify new opportunities to grow the provincial economy. To this end, the Department of Economic Development and Tourism will host a webinar in August 2020 with relevant stakeholders in the province to discuss the Mpumalanga Economic Recovery and Growth Plan. From a budget point of view, we must find a balance between saving lives and ensuring there is food on the table for 4.6 million citizens of our province. Honorable Speaker, the Ministry of Finance has indicated that tax revenue will be impacted negatively with resultant impact on receipt from the national government. At the same time, COVID-19 has also impacted negatively on our provincial revenue collection streams. We will expand more on this when we table the November 2020 adjustment budget. Given the constrained fiscals, we have to do more with less. Efficiency, effectiveness, and value for money must become part of every official and every government program going forward. We should continue to strive to be a capable, ethical, and development state. Speaker, let me briefly reflect on the fiscal framework. The main appropriation will be adjusted by 440,198,000, thereby decreasing the provincial budget baseline from 54 billion to 53.5 billion for the current financial year. A reduction of 706.6 million has been effected as a result of reprioritization of a portion of condition grants towards COVID-19 intervention at the national level. The province has, however, received an additional 266.4 million on conditional grants, of which 46.1 million for provincial disaster relief grant and 173 million for new COVID-19 component. To lessen the impact of this reduction, the Executive Council has also approved the equitable share reprioritization of 1.637 billion within the provincial baseline towards COVID-19 programs. Let me highlight some of the spending priorities in this adjustment budget. The Special Adjustment Appropriation Bill has significantly prioritized the health sector. Hence, 75% of the funds identified have been allocated to the Department of Health towards COVID-19 response measures, primarily for the following: provision of personnel protective equipment for health workers, appointment of key personnel in the front line of fighting the pandemic, preparing and equipping health facilities as COVID-19 war rooms, ensuring maximum functionality of the provincial health system. To this end, as a provincial government, we acknowledge and salute the thousands of health workers who have been leading from the front since the coronavirus outbreak in the province. We want to assure MEC Manzini, HOD Dr. Muhangi, and the entire workforce of the department of our unwavering support as they navigate our province through these stormy seas. Honorable Speaker, in an effort to mitigate the effect of drought on the livelihood, 12.1 million from the Provincial Disaster Relief Grant is allocated for drought relief to the agricultural sector. 32 million allocated to the Department of Agriculture, Rural Development, Land and Environmental Affairs, working together with the Department of Social Development to source and distribute 40,000 food items to distressed households due to COVID-19. The adjusted appropriation bill also prioritized water projects in communities and schools to the amount of 182.7 million. Honorable Speaker, the Executive Council has approved adjustments to the budget of departments for the current financial year as follows. The budget of the Office of the Premier will decrease from 359.6 million to 315.2 million. The Provincial Legislature's budget will decrease from 369.1 million to 349.7 million. The budget of the Provincial Treasury will decrease from 440.5 million to 407 million. The budget of the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs decreases from 568.3 million to 521.1 million. The baseline of the Department of Agriculture, Rural Development, Land and Environmental Affairs budget will have a net $2.2 billion to 1.192 billion. The budget of the Department of Economic Development and Tourism is reduced from 1.353 billion to 1.108 billion. The budget of the Department of Education is decreased by a net of net of 548.8 million from 23.497 billion to 22.823 billion. A special allocation of 124 million has been made to the Department of Education to deal with sanitation challenges in the most affected schools. The budget of the Department of Public Works, Roads and Transport is decreased from 5 billion to 4.720 billion. The allocation to the Department of Community Safety, Security and Liaison decreased from 1.514 billion to 1.475 billion, with a net of 1.207 billion additional funding earmarked for COVID-19. The current budget of the Department of Health will increase from 15 billion point 568 to 16.775 billion. Furthermore, a new COVID-19 component has been added within HIV, TB, malaria, community outbreak grant to complement provincial spending on personnel protective equipment and ventilators, hiring of additional staff, and to assist in responding to the additional caseload resulting from the pandemic. The Department of Culture, Sports and Recreation's budget is decreased by a net of 89.7 million from 577.1 million to 487.4 million. The budget of the Department of Social Development will decrease from 1.838 billion to 1.691 billion. The allocation to the Department of Human Settlement will increase by a net 6.7 million from 1.552 billion to 1.559 billion to continue implementing various infrastructure projects. Speaker, in his address to the nation on the 24th March 2020, President Cyril Ramaphosa called on all society to play a part in curbing the spread of COVID-19. He said, and I quote, "We expect all South Africans to act in the interest of South Africans, South African nation, and not in their own selfish interest." Close quote. We appeal to the business community to join our efforts of saving lives and support our goal of ensuring that the limited resources earmarked for COVID-19 intervention reach as many people as possible. Equally, all of us in the administration must continue to be prudent and accountable in managing these limited resources to ensure that all areas are reached. Departments, public entities, and municipalities must ensure that procurement for COVID-19 requirement is done in a fair and transparent manner and in line with legislation. All provincial departments are required to report on COVID-19 related expenditures as it is realized and ensure that proper records are kept for auditing of all procurement outputs. As I conclude, let me borrow the words of one of a prominent African educationist and a champion of racial and gender equality, Mary McLeod Bethune, who once said, I quote, "The progress of the world will call for the best that all of us have to give," close quote. Let us adhere to regulation and health protocols so that tomorrow we can rise again and take our province forward. Let's continue to wash hands frequently with hand sanitizers or soap and water for at least 20 minutes. Let's avoid crowded areas and travel when it is absolutely necessary. Avoid funerals. Let's wear face masks whenever we leave home and in all public space. I volunteer to give all members of the legislature a mask similar to mine. Honorable Speaker, I would like to convey my gratitude to Provincial Command Council for the leadership in this critical phase and all healthcare workers who are at the front line of our response strategy. Premier Honorable Philem Tsweni Tsipane for your leadership and counsel. My colleagues in the Executive Council for the support during the preparation of this special adjustment budget. Chairperson Honorable Mohita Lashminari and all members of the Portfolio Committee on Premier's Office, Finance, Economic Development and Tourism. Team Treasury and the people of Mpumalanga for being supportive, resilient, resolute as we together fight the COVID-19 war. I now have the honor to table the special adjustment bill for the 2020-21 and special adjusted estimates of the provincial revenue and expenditure for 2020-21 for consideration by the August House. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Roman, for the well-delivered speech. The Mpumalanga Provincial Budget Speech 2020-21, electronic copies, the Mpumalanga Adjustment Appropriation Bill 2020, then referred to the Portfolio Committee on Premier's Office, Finance, Economic Development and Tourism for consideration and report back to the House. That brings us to the end of today's business. The House is adjourned until the 30th of July 2020 at 10 o'clock via the Microsoft Teams platform. Thank you very much, honorable members.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Long live the Speaker.
Ngunikile imali yakho ngushongwe ungasangilwisi.
Atshele imali encane nje. Serious. Siyabona.
Imali iyambena emanzini.
Imithi yokondla bosedibe lana uyabona bosedibe ihlathi zivuvukile bondliwa ngimi.
Was it clear?
Yeah, very clear. Thank you, sir.
Silani.
Siyabonga speaker. Umtshelile Jeffrey speaker ukuthi akayekele ukukhalisa amakomishi la khona.
No, angimtshelanga ungitshelele yena wena.
Oh ngiyabonga speaker.
Siyabonga. Honorable Shaw.
Useparlament ufake boserebos yana eparlament. Ngondo yasepinara iphumi.